Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world. So, today I'm trying something new. I'm going to start a new series called Weird Stuff in a Pie. This is where we take perhaps non-traditional pie fillings and see if it works as a pie. This isn't meant to be a comedy show. I am only going to do things I think can and will work. And I am going to try to do this to the best of my ability. So if things in a recipe need adjusting, I will do so. So today, for episode 1, for my pie, I'm going to make a Saveloy Dip pie. Now, for those of you unfamiliar, a Saveloy is a British sausage. It's popular in the northeast of England. It's heavily spiced pork. Down south, you often find it in chip shops. I think it's just fried or deep fried. But in the northeast, we have it in a sandwich with pease pudding, stuffing, mustard, and it's dipped in either with meat juices or in gravy. So I have to get the essence of that into a pie. Obviously, there's not going to be any bread, so that's one thing that's going to be missing. And just to see if it works and to see if it's better, ultimately. So first thing we've got to do is sort out a pie crust. Now, I'm using Shortcrust pastry for this. I am using store-bought simply because while I can actually make Shortcrust pastry, it is a bit of a faff. So first thing we'll do is we're going to line a pie tin. We'll see, use the size of pie tin you want. And what I'm going to do for this is immediately I'm going to have downtime. I'm going to put this in the fridge. I'm going to let it chill for about 20 minutes into a position. So we'll be back in 20 minutes. Okay, and welcome back briefly. So I've allowed this to chill in the fridge for about 25 minutes. Firms it up a little. This is now going to get blind baked. I've chosen to leave the rim on for now, and this will be cut off at the end. This allows for shrinkage, which is, most men will tell you is a major issue. Now, what I am going to use is we need to wear this down so it doesn't bubble. So I was looking at bacon beans in the supermarket yesterday. They're like £10 for something that wouldn't even fill this. So what I've got here is some old beans that I've kind of forgot about. So I'm just going to use them to wear this down. Now, I am putting some baking paper on here. I'm not 100% if this is a necessary step, if I'm honest. I think I might be able to put the beans direct to the pastry. So the idea is here, the beans are already incredibly dry, so they're not going to cook as such. They can be reused, so I can use these multiple times. And it's just a cheap way of using something that is going to go to waste anyway. So these are going to go in blind baking for 10 minutes, then we'll get it out for the next step. Hello and welcome back. So we baked this for about 10 minutes, and it's already suffering from shrinkage. So we're going to remove the beans now. They've done their job. They can be let cool and we can reuse these. Now, I don't know if you can see, even here, some of the shrinkage is already causing us issues. You can see some of the rims of the bowl and some of the pastry came loose. So next time, I need to do better. Now we've got another step here. We haven't quite finished the blind bake. What we want to do is create a seal, because this is going to be a very wet mixture, and the pastry, well, we want it to hold together. We want it to be hand portable. So what we'll do is we're actually going to do an egg wash inside the pastry. And then we're going to pop this back in the oven just for a minute or two, just for this to firm up and create a seal. So if you bear with me just one moment, we'll get this done. Okay, So back in the oven for 2 minutes, just to let that harden up. And welcome back. So we've now created a seal within the pie itself. Now I do have some minor issues with retraction here. I do feel like I need to fix these. Okay. Right, first things first, let's trim this. We'll get off the excess pastry while it's still relatively soft. Pastry is cracking in a couple of places, which isn't great. So we've now got some offcuts. Those won't be wasted. I'll find something to do with those. Okay. It's not going to be a pretty pie, but I don't do pies a lot. Alright. What we'll do is we'll use a little bit of raw pastry to fill in these gaps, just to get it back level with the rim. It's not too many patches needing to be done. Okay, I think that'll do actually. Once I've got the lid on, then I can patch properly. Now we've got the fun part, we've got the assembly of the pie. So I've carefully considered what goes where, and what we'll do is we'll start with a layer of pease pudding. Now, pease pudding, for those who don't know, is yellow lentils, split peas. That's basically stewed until it becomes into like a hummus consistency. It's pretty much a sandwich filler, but it's also got a lot of salt in, onion, and other flavourings, pepper and so on. So it's not just bean or lentil. It does have a flavour in its own right. Goes well with other salty things, like ham and pease pudding is a big thing up here. I'm putting this on the bottom layer, as while there is a lot of moisture in it, it is probably not going to let too much out. And moisture is our enemy in here. Okay, so layer in, that should hopefully help with the seal that we formed. Next we're going to go with stuffing. Now this is just cheap off-the-shelf stuffing. I've added some pepper just to give it a bit more flavour. But when you look at the ingredients, it's got sage and onion, pepper, and a few other spices within it already. So it's not as if it's unseasoned filler. I mean, it is filler, but it's not as if it's unseasoned and doesn't have much of a taste. In fact, this is probably the strongest tasting thing within here. You can definitely get the sage. Next, we'll actually do our saveloy. Now, I've cut this into long oval strips. So we're going to put a layer of this in. Now, I wasn't exactly sure how much we're going to need, so I've chopped up 2 saveloys. In reality, I don't think I may have needed that much. Now, this won't go to waste, I'll get it out. But let's get a good layer in of this. Little bits of overlap are great. Okay. Next, we're going to put a bit of mustard in. Not everyone tends to have this on the Saveloy dips, but it's English mustard. Just packs a little bit of a punch and it's yet more seasoning. Just going to put it liberally in dabs. Quite hard. It's not the easiest to spread in its current form. Well, it is. It's just hard to spread when it's on uneven surfaces. Then we're going to relayer. Now the difference is this time we're going to add an extra element. Now with a traditional sausage dip, it is dipped in the meat juices or in a gravy. So I've made a little bit of gravy and I'm actually going to mix it into the stuffing. Now the reason I'm doing this is so that the flavour of the gravy is taken in by the stuffing. Because Again, I'm concerned over the level of moisture that's going in, because every ingredient here has some level of moisture. So we're going to try and offset the risk by putting it through one of the more absorbent elements. Okay. And finally, I'm going to do another thin layer of the pease pudding. Doesn't matter if the layers aren't perfect. When you're working with some wet ingredients, it's harder to spread. Ultimately, you're not going to lose out because there's some on the bottom. Okay, perhaps not the prettiest concoction so far, but let's get a lid on this. There you are. We'll loosely trim the outsides here and we'll cut under the rim. I just realised I've missed a small item I was intending to do. Let's get that off. We all make mistakes. I'm going to use an egg wash to help glue this down. So just around the sides, with the help of the seal of the pastry. Okay, we'll try that again. Now I'm going to crimp it with my fingers to try and get that pastry to link up with the blind baked pastry. And again, we're going to trim the excess. Okay, not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm going to put just a couple of slits in there for escaping air. I don't know if there'll be much given what we're using here. I'm just going to give it another lick of the egg wash. You know, if you're baking a lot, these egg wash brushes, I guess, great. I've seen some cookery shows where they basically pour it on. It's like, come on, this was like £2. But it's going to be a rough looking pie, I feel. Some might say rustic. I'll just say I need practice. Okay, I'm going to throw this back in the oven for around 10 minutes. I'll be monitoring it to see how long it actually takes. I just want to golden brown top. When you get down to it, everything inside is already cooked. It's a matter of combining the ingredients and just getting the final elements cooked hot and hot. Okay, welcome back. So here we have the final result. Pie that's holding together well. It's slightly soggy on the bottom. I could have possibly blind baked this for another few moments, but it doesn't really need too long. Took a bit of effort to get out the pie, so I had to get my fillet knife, but you know, that's fine. So let's see what it's like through the middle. I'm hoping for a lovely cross section with defined layers. Yeah. not quite as defined as I was hoping, but that's fine. That's fine. It is holding together incredibly well, though. Now, let's try a piece of this. It's a little wedge. Hmm. Unsurprisingly, it tastes exactly like a Saveloy Dip. So very smooth, quite homogenized, and not all the flavors come together. There's no real. Everything is combined into one flavor. Quite salty. Every ingredient in here has salt, as well as some in the gravy. Quite peppery. Now the question is this better than the regular where it's in bread? Yeah, I think it is. I do find that pastry is superior to bread. Now, that's not always going to be true of everything necessarily, but if it's got hot fillings, I feel like a pastry is a good alternative. Now, it's got a load of mustard there. Tell you what, that mustard actually does give it a kick. Yeah. All right. So the question is, would I make this again? And I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't. I think it's a lot of effort for a relatively small payoff. However, if this was available as an alternative to a Saveloy Dip, I think I would buy it. In addition, I think that pie shops, pie restaurants could actually get a good bit of mileage out of this. So yeah, I think this is a successful experiment. I do think this is very good because it's held together well, very portable. Could have this with a nice little pot of gravy or something like that, or a bit more mustard. So yeah, I think this is a very big success. I just don't necessarily think I would do it again. At least not for free. So yes, good experiment. Quite enjoyed this. Quite like it. I think it'd be good for butchers to do commercially, but I don't think I would do it as an individual. Okay, thanks for joining me. Oh, weird stuff in a pie. I have some ideas for this going forward, so hopefully there's a bit of mileage in this. If you've got any further suggestions from yourselves, let us know, and I'll see what I can do. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye. I've decided to start recording again because I've had some afterthoughts. I've let it cool fully, and just want to talk a little bit more about what's happening here. So I'm just going to talk through what's happening inside the pie. So I'm trying to get the screen up. So we have actually got distinct layers when I've let it cool. So you can see I've got the pastry there. Looks like I could have used another few minutes blind baking. Then a good layer of pease pudding, quite thick. Then a small layer of the stuffing. Then the saveloy. Then technically the stuffing is there, it's lost its layer. Then we have the pease pudding and the pastry again. Now I think I could have done with having a little bit less pease pudding on the bottom. When you turn to its sides, some of the mustard is visible, which isn't a bad thing. It gives little bits of heat. I've been thinking about how I would eat this, and I think it's best served cold. It's got a similar texture to you ever have corned beef and potato pie. Got all the various carbs in here and mixing together to be quite thick, quite hearty. And it's actually, I think it would be too heavy to go into a natural meal, to go with vegetables, gravy, that kind of thing. Cuts very well, holds its shape very well. I stand by what I said earlier, that I don't think I would necessarily cook this particularly often. If someone requested it, I could make it. It's definitely tasty, slightly over salty. Every ingredient in here has quite a bit of salt. I didn't add any except for the gravy, so I think I'll be looking for a low salt gravy. And some of the flavourings I have, like, do have a bit of extra salt in. So I think I'd enhance the herby side of things, add some fresh sage maybe. Maybe even a little bit more than mustard. Try and get the flavours out. Because I had a bit more of this after, and the overwhelming flavours is salt. Black pepper, because I did put some of that into the stuffing. I think we could potentially put a bit more of that in, and the mustard. So we've got a few different flavours coming through. I think if we tone back the salt, added in more sage or thyme maybe, I think that would bring things together as a better overall flavour. Like I said, texture's quite heavy, but I'm not too displeased with that because it makes it easily portable. It's not falling apart in my hands. Cuts easy. Could be very shareable. Cut this into segments. So yeah, so I think it is an interesting experiment. Quite pleased with it. But it's I don't know if I've got any more thoughts on this. It is a very interesting experiment, and if I have a lesson to give, it's not necessarily to do what I've done, but it's to be experimental in the kitchen. Try things that you think could work. It's tempting to think that everything that could be done has been done, but I don't think that's the case. I think we've all still got a lot to learn. I think there's still a lot of things we can do out there. So why not give it a go, yeah? Okay. Sign off for real this time. Good night.